Welcome to Not Your Status Quo, and today we are going over what we consider the top 3 comic book arcs of all time. And as always, if you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and ring the bell to be notified of future videos.
My number 3 is Year One by Frank Miller and David Mazzuccheli. Batman 404 to 407 came out in 1987. And it is a true Batman classic. It is the origin story of the Dark Knight and features perhaps one of the grittiest depictions of Gotham City to ever grace the pages of a comic book, detailing the beginnings of Batman, Jim Gordon, and Catwoman's career. And little known fact, he was obligated to write this because of the Dark Knight Returns. Part of the deal for him to write this was to write a new origin story. And if it's not already on your bookshelf, you should find a spot for it.
My number 3 is Batman Hush. I would say these are in no particular order, but because they're all like good for me, so I had to rate them, but this is number 3. Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee did this. It was a Batman number 608 through 619 in 2003. One thing I like about the Batman novels is they always find a way to insert all of the villains into each story. And just when it seems like they could do, like no more interesting villains, they invent Hush. And the story places all the villains in strategic spots, and it redeems Harvey Dent while making space for a Catwoman storyline as well. So it's an excellent story writing. I can't wait for the animated movie. It's coming out next year.
Number 2 for me is Watchmen, Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, and that's Watchmen number 1 through 12, 86 and 87. And I remember reading that a critic had said this is when comics grew up, and that is so true. Set in an alternate reality where all the heroes at the time had radically opposing ways to perceive the world. That's Moore's words. It was like nothing that I ever read in comic form before that. You still see the Watchmen's influence in comics today, almost 30 years later. Easily one of the best comic book stories of all time.
My number 2 would be Infinity by John Hickman. I'm not sure, what year did that come out, Keith?
1994. No, I have no idea.
Okay, well, it's the basic. It's easy to choose this one because Infinity War was such a hit, and this was really a blueprint for that movie. But it's definitely worth the read because the movie isn't really a mirror image of the story. There's so many more characters in the book, and it has much deeper plot lines. Who knows, maybe we'll see some of those plot lines in Infinity War Part 2 or Avengers 4, whatever it's going to be called. And so you've seen the movie. Now you should read the book. They always say that the book is better, but I think in this case, the book and the movie have, they're about equal. They have equal value.
And my number 1 is the Dark Phoenix Saga by Chris Claremont and John Byrne. And that's X-Men, The Uncanny X-Men 129 to 137, out in 1980. And basically, the Dark Phoenix Saga betrays readers' emotions and subverts their expectations. Jean Grey becoming corrupted by outside influence is bad enough, but then you begin to realize that all she is really doing is unlocking her true potential. X-Men comics have long dealt with the divide between human and mutants, but the Dark Phoenix Saga introduced the idea that the most powerful of all mutants might eventually have to decide if they are going to be a god or a human. The tragic tale of Jean Grey that is told within these pages really serves as a turning point for the X-Men, and my number 1 of all time.
And finally, my number 1 is Long Halloween by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. It's a Batman series covering 13 issues from 96 to 97. This arc really sold me on Jeff Loeb as a writer. He's definitely my favorite comic book writer. He writes for Daredevil and Hulk and among others. And besides Smallville, his TV shows that he's been the executive producer on, I don't know if he's doing any writing, has just been adequate, but of course Smallville was excellent. That being said, the plot takes you through a year with Batman focusing on the Falcone crime family in Gotham, and they seem to work all the villains into that one as well. And have a Catwoman side plot. So it's just excellent written. There's no time to be bored in this one, as the action and the plot never slow down. And every frame has a meaning, and every word they say, leads into the plot. It's really excellent, and there's no time for skimming through this one. Make sure you read every word.
Well, those are Dave and my top 3 comic arcs. What do you think? Let us know in the comments what you think we got right or wrong. And if you have not read any of these arcs, run out to your comic book store and pick them up. Also, check out the notes below for some honorable mentions for the greatest comic arcs according to Dave and Keith.